Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Read that again. Not talent, not luck, not the right moment arriving at your door. Discipline. That single word separates the life you are living right now from the life you have always imagined. And yet, every single day, millions of people wake up with a plan, a direction, a goal they genuinely want to reach, and then they let their feelings decide whether or not they will move toward it. They wake up and they check in with their mood the way a man checks the weather before stepping outside. If it feels right, they go. If it does not feel right, they stay. And they call that living. That is not living. That is drifting. And the drift will take you somewhere you never chose to go. Now let me tell you something important. Feelings are real. I am not here to tell you that what you feel does not exist. It exists. You feel tired, and that tiredness is real. You feel unmotivated, and that emptiness is real. You feel uncertain, and that doubt has weight to it. But real does not mean true. Real does not mean reliable. Real does not mean that you should hand over the steering wheel of your entire life to a sensation that arrived this morning and will be gone by noon. Your feelings are visitors. The plan is the house. Visitors do not get to decide the architecture. Think about a pilot preparing for a long flight. The morning may be gray. The pilot may have slept poorly. The body may be asking for rest. But the departure time is the departure time. The checklist is the checklist. The route has been filed. The pilot does not walk into the cockpit, consult his feelings, and decide whether he feels sufficiently inspired to fly today. He executes. He shows up. He does the work the role demands regardless of what the morning brought to his chest. Now ask yourself honestly, in the most important areas of your life, are you operating like a pilot or are you operating like someone waiting to feel ready? Here is a truth most people never confront. You will almost never feel ready. Readiness is not a feeling that arrives before the action. Readiness is what the action builds inside of you. You do not feel your way into discipline. You discipline your way into feeling capable, feeling strong, feeling like someone who can be trusted with larger goals. But the feeling comes after. It always comes after. And if you wait for it to come before, you will wait your entire life, and the plan you once wrote down with such hope will yellow on a shelf somewhere, becoming a monument to what you almost did. We must all suffer one of two things, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Let that sink in. Those are the only two options on the table. There is no third path where everything unfolds smoothly without effort, without choosing the harder thing when every part of you wants the easier one. You will pay a price. The only question is, which price? The pain of discipline is temporary. You feel it in the morning when the alarm sounds before the sun. You feel it in the afternoon when focus demands you stay at the work when distraction is one click away. You feel it in the evening when every cell in your body wants to stop and you choose to take one more step. That pain is real, but it fades. It actually fades. And in its place, something grows, something solid, something you will carry for the rest of your days. The pain of regret does not fade. It deepens. It compounds. It follows you into old age like a shadow that knows every street you walk. And the weight of what you did not do, the plan you abandoned, the commitment you broke with yourself, that weight does not lighten with time. It gets heavier. So the question is not whether you will suffer. The question is whether you will choose the suffering that builds or the suffering that corrodes. Now, understand something important. The feelings that pull you away from your plan are not random. They follow a pattern that is entirely predictable once you learn to see it. The resistance peaks exactly when the work matters most. Think about that. The morning you most need to begin is the morning the bed feels most comfortable. The day you most need to push forward is the day doubt whispers loudest. The moment you are closest to a breakthrough is the moment you feel most like stopping. This is not coincidence. This is the nature of meaningful effort. The resistance is proportional to the importance of what you are attempting, and that means that the intensity of your desire to quit is actually information. It tells you that you are close to something real. It tells you that this particular step has weight. And the man or woman who understands that, who learns to read resistance as a signal to lean in rather than a command to retreat, that person has discovered one of the most powerful truths about human progress. If you really want to do something, you will find a way. If you do not, you will find an excuse. And the excuses that feel most convincing are never the ones that sound like laziness. Nobody says to themselves, I am choosing not to grow today because I am lazy. No. The excuses feel noble. The excuses feel rational. I will start when things settle down. I will begin when I feel more prepared. I will commit fully when the timing is better. These sentences feel like wisdom. They feel like patience. But let me tell you what they actually are. They are your feelings writing the script of your future. And your feelings in that moment have no interest in your long-term vision. They are interested only in comfort right now, relief right now, the absence of discomfort right now. And if you give them the pen, if you let them write the script day after day, you will find yourself 5 years from now still waiting for the moment that was always just around the corner. No one is coming to rescue you from this. No one is coming to take the decision off your hands. No one is coming to feel motivated on your behalf. The plan is yours. The responsibility for following it is yours. And the life that results, whether it is a life of design or a life of drift, that is yours too. Let me ask you a question. If you knew with absolute certainty that sticking to the plan today, even when every feeling in your body argued against it, would directly determine the quality of the next 10 years of your life, would you do it? I believe you would. I believe most people, when they see the connection clearly, when the consequence is visible and certain, they choose the harder right thing over the easier wrong one. The problem is that in the daily moment, the connection is not visible. You skip the morning routine today and nothing catastrophic happens. You push the important work off until tomorrow and the day feels fine. You bend the commitment this once and the world does not end. So the feeling says, see, it did not matter. But it did matter. It mattered in a way the feeling cannot perceive and the moment cannot measure. Every single choice you make in the direction of your plan or away from it is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. And the person you are becoming is the most important project of your life. The major value in life is not what you get. The major value in life is what you become. Think about that deeply. Not what you accumulate, not what you achieve, not the titles or the numbers or the recognition. What you become, because what you become determines everything else that follows. The person who has learned to move despite feeling tired, to create despite feeling uninspired, to persist despite feeling uncertain, that person does not stay stuck. That person cannot stay stuck. The skills they have built, the character they have forged, the internal architecture they have constructed through daily acts of self-governance, those things produce results the way the ground produces crop. Not because of luck, because of what was planted and tended. Picture a farmer who plants in spring. The ground is cold. The work is hard. There is no visible evidence in those early weeks that anything is happening beneath the surface. If the farmer consulted his feelings every morning, waiting for the evidence to appear before continuing to tend the soil, there would be nothing to harvest in the fall. But the farmer understands that the process does not require his belief in order to operate. The seed does not need him to feel optimistic. The seed needs him to show up, to water, to clear the weeds, to do the daily, undramatic, unglamorous work that the season demands. And in the fall, what he gets is not a reflection of how inspired he felt in the spring. What he gets is a reflection of what he did. You are that farmer. The plan is the seed. Your daily actions in service of that plan, regardless of how you feel about them, are the tending, and the harvest of your life will not be a reflection of your best moods. It will be a reflection of your most consistent choices. Now think about this. Consistency is not glamorous. That is why most people undervalue it. We celebrate the dramatic comeback, the overnight success, the sudden leap, but those moments are always downstream of something invisible. Hundreds of days of ordinary effort, compounding quietly, building the foundation that made the visible moment possible. The man who runs the marathon did not begin running 26 miles. He began running 1 mile, then 2, then 5, not because every run felt great. Many of them felt terrible. Many mornings the legs were heavy, and the lungs burned, and the internal voice said, "There is no point today. The weather is wrong. I am too tired. I will make it up tomorrow." And on the days he listened to that voice, nothing was built. On the days he laced his shoes anyway, something was built. Every single time. Even when the run was slow, even when it was short, even when it was nothing to be proud of from the outside. The act of honoring the commitment when the feeling said not to, that was the real training. The legs were secondary. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. A few, simple, practiced every day, not complicated. Not reserved for exceptional people with exceptional circumstances. A few simple things, done consistently, done even when the feeling argues against them, that is the entire formula. And the reason most people do not apply it is not because they find it complicated. It is because they underestimate the feeling on the other side. They assume that when they wrote the plan, when they felt the motivation, when they made the commitment, that feeling would be there to carry them through. It will not. The motivation that started you will not be enough to finish you. That is not failure. That is the design of the process. Motivation opens the door. Discipline is what walks you through it every day after. Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. Let that settle in. You cannot manufacture motivation every morning the way you manufacture coffee. You cannot summon it by reading an inspiring quote or watching someone else succeed. Motivation is a spark. It is useful and real, but it burns fast. What replaces it, what has to replace it, if you are going to build anything of lasting value, is the habit. The automatic, non-negotiable daily motion toward the thing you said matters. The habit does not ask you how you feel. It does not wait for the mood to improve. It does not offer you an exit. It simply moves. And over time, the moving becomes who you are rather than something you do. Here is how you build that. You make the plan so clear, so specific, so committed, that feelings have no room to negotiate. Not, "I will try to exercise this week." That sentence has an escape hatch built into it. Every sentence with "try" is a sentence with a door you can walk out of when it gets hard. Instead, "I will move my body for 30 minutes every morning before anything else happens." That is a sentence with no door. That is a commitment, not an intention. And the distinction between a commitment and an intention is the distance between the life you want and the life you settle for. Intentions are populated by feelings. Commitments are governed by decisions. Now ask yourself honestly, in the areas of your life that matter most, are you operating on commitments or on intentions? Are you moving toward what you said you wanted, or are you waiting for the feeling that will make the movement easier? Because I will tell you plainly, that feeling is unreliable. It shows up sometimes. It disappears without warning. It is the worst business partner you will ever have, and yet most people hand it a 50% stake in every important decision they make. The feelings get an equal vote on whether the plan moves forward today. And on the days the feelings vote no, the plan dies a little, not dramatically, just a little. Just enough that 6 months from now you look back and realize you are further from what you wanted than you were when you started, not because of any great catastrophe, but because of 1,000 small surrenders, each one dressed up in a feeling that felt reasonable at the time. Affirmation without discipline is the beginning of delusion. Think about that. You can say all the right things. You can repeat the goals. You can visualize the outcome. You can fill a journal with intentions written in your best handwriting. And none of it matters without the daily acts of self-governance that give those words weight. Words without action are decoration. Commitment without execution is just vocabulary. And the person who has spent years affirming and visualizing and intending without ever disciplining themselves to act on those things consistently has not been building toward their dream. They have been building a very comfortable distance from it, one that still feels like proximity because the words are right. Let me be direct with you. No one deceives themselves with bad plans. People deceive themselves with good plans poorly executed. The plan is often perfectly designed. The goal is clear and meaningful. The steps are sensible. What fails is not the strategy. What fails is the commitment to carry out the strategy on the days when carrying it out feels awful. What fails is the willingness to show up at the level the plan requires when every feeling in you is lobbying for a lower level. That gap, the gap between what the plan requires and what the feeling offers, is where character is built or abandoned. Every day you close that gap, you become more. Every day you let the feeling win, you become less. Not in some grand philosophical sense, in the most practical sense. Your capacity to execute contracts, your belief in your own word erodes. The next time the plan demands something difficult, the resistance comes a little sooner and a little louder because you have taught yourself through repetition that when it gets hard, you stop. Now understand something important. You can reverse that pattern. You can unteach it. Every single day you choose the plan over the feeling, you are reprogramming that internal negotiation. The resistance does not disappear, but your relationship to it changes. You begin to recognize it as noise rather than instruction. You begin to feel the difference between a body that genuinely needs rest and a mind that is simply trying to avoid discomfort. You develop discrimination, and that discrimination is worth more than almost any other skill you can build because it applies everywhere. In business, in relationships, in health, in learning, in every domain where long-term vision conflicts with short-term comfort, the person who can tell the difference between real limitation and manufactured excuse has an enormous advantage over everyone else who cannot. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better, because the challenge does not move. The difficulty does not reduce itself out of sympathy. The market does not soften because you have had a hard week. The body does not transform because you occasionally push yourself when you feel like it. The goal does not come closer because you want it to. The world operates by its own laws, and those laws do not make exceptions for how we feel. What we can change is not the difficulty. What we can change is our capacity to meet it. And that capacity is built one decision at a time, one day at a time, in the moments when the feeling says stop and something deeper, something you chose rather than inherited, says keep going. That deeper thing is your decision, not your talent, not your genetic inheritance, not your background or your past or the circumstances of your birth. Your decision. And the decision is always available. It is always right there. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. One decision, made clearly and held firmly, changes everything that follows. Not tomorrow, not next month when you feel more ready. Now, tonight, this morning, in the next 5 minutes. The direction changes the moment the decision is made with full commitment and full understanding of what it will cost and full willingness to pay that cost, regardless of how you feel on any given day. Here is what that looks like in practice. You write the plan down. You make it specific. You break it into daily actions that are small enough to be undeniable, large enough to be meaningful. And then you treat those daily actions as non-negotiable appointments with your future self. Not aspirations, appointments. You keep appointments with your doctor even when you feel well. You keep appointments with people who depend on you even when you are tired. Why? Because you made a commitment and you are the kind of person who honors commitments. Now apply that same standard to the commitments you have made to yourself. Treat the plan with the same respect you would give to an obligation that someone else was counting on, because someone else is counting on the version of yourself 10 years from now is counting on what you do today. That person is as real as any person you have ever made a promise to. And the promise you make to that future self is kept or broken in the daily moments when the feeling argues for less. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Most people invert this entirely. They give their best focus, their best hours, their most disciplined attention to the external obligations, The job gets structure, the job gets systems, the job gets followed through even on the difficult days, because the consequence of not following through is immediate and visible. But the internal work, the development of self, the daily investment in the person you are becoming, that gets what is left over. The tired hour at the end of the day, the fragmented attention between other things, the inconsistent effort that shows up when motivation happens to be present and disappears when it is not. And then people wonder why the external results do not match the internal aspirations. They wonder why the vision they hold for their life is not materializing. It is materializing. It is materializing in exact proportion to the quality and consistency of the work they are doing on themselves. The external world is always an accurate mirror of the internal work. Always. Without exception. So if you look at the results of your life right now, and they do not match what you want, the honest question is not what is wrong with my circumstances. The honest question is what is the quality and consistency of the internal work I have been doing? And if the honest answer is that the feelings have been running the program, that you have been showing up when you felt like it and stepping back when you did not, then you have your answer. And more importantly, you have the beginning of the solution, because now you know exactly what to change. Not the circumstances, the internal governance. Let me tell you something powerful. Every person who has ever built something of lasting value went through a period where the external results were invisible and the internal commitment was the only thing keeping the effort alive. Every single one of them. There was a period where the numbers did not confirm the vision, where the evidence argued against continuing, where the feeling said, perhaps this is not going to work, perhaps I have been wrong about this, perhaps it is time to find something easier. And in that period, what separated the people who broke through from the people who turned back was not talent. It was not a lucky break. It was the decision made daily to honor the plan in the absence of visible confirmation, to trust the process before the process had given them anything visible to trust. That is the test. And it is the most important test your goals will ever put you through. Not the test of whether you can work hard when things are going well and the results are visible and the motivation is high. Anyone can do that. The test is whether you can hold the line when things are not confirming your direction. When the morning is cold and the result is not yet visible and every feeling says the cost is not worth what you are getting. Can you hold the line? Can you honor the appointment? Can you do the work the day requires? Success is something you attract by the person you become. You do not chase it down, you do not force it. You become the kind of person who produces it naturally, the way a tree naturally produces fruit when it has the right roots, the right soil, the right consistent tending. And that becoming does not happen in the moments when everything is aligned and the energy is high and the path is clear. It happens in the difficult moments, the unglamorous ones, the ones nobody else sees, when you chose the harder thing and no one applauded. Those moments accumulate. They compound. They build an architecture in you that eventually no circumstance can shake, because it was built in the difficulty, not in spite of it. Now ask yourself this. What is one thing, just one, that you know you should be doing right now and have been allowing your feelings to prevent? Just one thing. The exercise you are postponing, the conversation you are avoiding, the work you keep rescheduling for a day when you feel more ready. The commitment you have been negotiating with yourself about for weeks, finding new and creative reasons why today is not quite the right day. You know what it is. You have always known. The feeling that resists it is not wisdom. It is noise. It is the most convincing kind of noise, because it sounds like your own voice, and it knows exactly what arguments you will find persuasive. But it is noise. And the most important thing you can do today is not wait for that noise to stop before you act, because it will not stop until you act. Don't spend major time on minor things, and do not let minor feelings govern major decisions. The plan you created for your life is a major thing. The daily discomfort of following it is a minor thing. The feeling you have right now about whether today is the right day is a minor thing. The life you are building is a major thing. Keep the hierarchy clear. Keep the major thing in the center of every decision. And when the minor thing, the feeling, the mood, the resistance, the whisper that says not today, tries to crowd out the major thing, name it for what it is, a minor obstacle trying to prevent a major result. Here is the final truth I want to leave with you, and I want you to carry it with you into every morning that tries to negotiate with your plan. The person you are capable of becoming is on the other side of every moment you chose the plan over the feeling. Not far on the other side. Right there, immediately accessible, beginning the moment the decision is made. Not after the results confirm it. Not after the circumstances improve. Not after the feeling finally shows up to cooperate. The moment you say, I made a commitment, I understand it will be uncomfortable, and I am going to honor it anyway, that is the moment you become something more than you were. Not in 10 years. Now, in this moment. The becoming is not downstream of the result. The becoming is in the act itself. Every time you wake up before you want to and do the work before the world demands it, you are becoming. Every time you stay focused when the distraction is easy and available, you are becoming. Every time you push through the half hour when you have nothing left and then find there was more in you than you thought, you are becoming. Every time you refuse to let the feeling write the story of your day, you are becoming the person your goals require. And that person, built one disciplined moment at a time, does not merely want a better life. That person produces one, consistently, without waiting for permission from their mood. The feelings will come back tomorrow with new arguments. They always do. They are creative, and they are patient, and they know every vulnerability you carry. But you know something now that changes the negotiation. You know that they lie. Not because they feel false. They feel very real. They lie because they tell you that stopping is safe, that waiting is wise, that the discomfort of today is a signal to retreat rather than a signal that you are exactly where the growth is. They lie because they speak for the moment and have nothing to say about the decade. And you are not building a moment, you are building a life. So take the plan, hold it with both hands, not when you feel like it, every day, without negotiation, without exception, without asking your feelings for permission. Because the life you want does not care how you feel about building it. It only cares whether you do. Get up, do the work, honor the plan. That is all it asks, and it asks it every single day.